the famous word in Billy's dictionary, in Arabic. ما في مثلك مثل حلب بجنن. That's the famous word of Manoah Yitzhak ben Bahia, which means ما في مثلك means you are the best. ما bakshi means you are okay to go. And if you get approval from Billy, that's mean it's a big compliment. I prepared some Devrei Torah. Le'ilun Nishmat. I consider him a good father, good friend, and the big founder of our Beit Knesset. Yitzhak ben Bahia alav shalom. I never knew his name till later. After I met him maybe 2 years later, I found his name. I always knew his name Billy. So Yitzhak ben Bahia alav shalom. I want to say the Devrei Torah. I'm not scared because he's not here watching me what he say. Otherwise, I'll be bachaf. So Shammai Omer, there is a Mishnah or Masechet Avot. Famous Mishnah, I think it fits Billy alav shalom. עשה תורתך קבע, אמור מעט, ועשה הרבה. והווה מקבל כל אדם בסבר פנים יפות. That's a famous Mishnah, Masechet Avot, what Shammai say. Chachamim explain, it didn't say, הווה מקבל את חברך, you should greet your friend with a smile, not your parents. כל אדם, which means even a guy in the street. Rabbi Miller, זכרונו לברכה, אומר, the explanation, והווה מקבל כל אדם בסבר פנים יפות, which means he should receive every person with a kind smile. Seber, what is seber means? שתראה לו, you should show that person שאתה חושב עליו. When you're talking to a person, wow, I'm thinking of you. Panim, when you talk to a person, look at his face. שאתה מדבר איתו, תראה לו הפנים, show him your face. יפות means תראה לו פנים שוחקות. With a smile. Hi, Shabbat Shalom, Chag Sameach, have a nice day. The Midrash Omer, a person should always be happy. לעולם יהיו פניו של אדם שוחקות. Always you have to have a smile on your face. And the Midrash continue, what that shows. If somebody, okay, smile, well, I'm going to walk in the street, smile. זה מורה על בטחונו בהשם. When a person smile, means he has a trust in Hashem. לכן הוא שמח תמיד. Therefore, he's always happy. Always see, hi, תמיד happy. שלמה המלך אומר, טוב לב משתה תמיד. A person that he has a good heart, he's always like he's in the party. Every day party for him. Always happy, always greeting people. Alav Shalom, Billy, he loved to talk about Halab. Halab is where we came from, Aleppo. He loved traditions. He loved it. When you talk with him, you feel like you're talking to somebody from Halab, like he was born there. I never knew that he wasn't born there. Till maybe 2 years later, I told him, Billy, by the way, where you were born? He said, I'm American born. What do you mean? I said, you talk about Halab more than me? You know more story about Halab more than me? Billy, alav shalom, he loved the emet. He loved truth. One thing I could get him very angry. One thing get Billy very angry, when a Hazan do different makam. He thought I used to sit behind him. Jack, wrong Ra'ubanim, wrong Kaddish. We don't do this before Rosh Hashanah. We don't do this before Rosh Hashanah Rabbah. No, it's wrong. I know it. from 67th Street. At the same time, he's tough. At the same time, he will give you nice handshake and big compliment if you do the right thing. I remember the first time came to this shul, 1994. Nahari was a Hazan, and they want me to be Hazan as a Musaf. And Billy keep pushing me. Go, Chabot, you're from Halab, don't worry about it. I said, I can't pray next to Nahari. Li dakhilak. I'm scared. I'm not praying next to Nahari. He said, go, you know more than him. I said, dakhilak, Billy, please, I'm going to go downstairs with a kids minyan. He said, go ahead, do it. Don't worry. He gave me a big push. Right? So every time I used to come from the Teva, wow, this is the right thing. This is like Halab. I feel like I'm in Halab. Billy, if you look at him, you could see he's a tough man. At the same time, he has very soft heart. Very. Lev tov. Very soft heart. And I witnessed that. Me and Billy is not like other people that they see him in shul. I used to live with Billy every day, almost 10 hours. We used to share the warehouse together for 3 years. And I could tell you, I could share with you the story of how I came part of his business. I asked him one time, Billy, I'm looking to expand my business and I need a bigger place. He told me, you know what? The space that I have, really, I don't need it because I'm cutting, I only am cutting, and I have a big space. You want to come take a look? I said, okay, in Bush Terminal, 37th Street, Lenny there. So I said, what time are you coming? I told him, let's say 10 o'clock. Billy, very accurate. If you show up 10 or 5, what's wrong with you? Why? Not in business? You don't want to do business? So I told my partner, this guy, you can't play with him. 10 o'clock, make sure, 9:45, I'm looking for a parking in that area to make sure that Billy, I see him, Billy is there. Anyway, I saw the place. Wow, you like it? I said, yes. He took me. We went to the landlord office. He wasn't there, the manager there. He said, I got a guy. I wanna give him part of my place. Okay, well, let me ask you, should I do a lease or something, kind of paper that? He said, Billy, I trusted you. Whatever you want to do, tfaddal, go ahead. So after we went, Billy said, what do you think? With you, I'm not going to sign no paper. But I'm going to tell you 2 good things. Number 1, I didn't tell you, we have a minyan upstairs. You don't need to leave your work every day, 4 o'clock or 4:45, especially in the winter. With summertime, we don't have problem. Upstairs, I'll make sure we have a minyan. And we have a coffee and a ka'ak. I said, wow, I can't refuse it. We have a minyan minha, and I go there, don't worry about it. He said, you know what? Let's go now for lunch. I went, me and my partner, him, said, we're going to do zimun. We're going to eat. Kosher restaurant in that area. We ate, had the zimun. He said, now we can start business. Go bring the truck, move your stuff. Billy, I remember one time, in the winter break, I think he was also going somewhere, to Israel or somewhere. He said, Jack, please, make sure we have a minyan for minha upstairs. I said, Billy, but you're going, so who cares? I'm going to go somewhere else. He said, no. This minyan, I established this minyan. I want to make sure that the minyan continue. Otherwise, when I come back, and people know that we left, they're not going to come back again. So Billy is kind of a person that really he cares. He cares about his tefillah. He cares about kebi'ut al-Torah. When I first started giving classes over here, he used to come every Shabbat, every afternoon. And he always, next to Billy, as mentioned in the Arayat, in the funeral, next to Billy, if you're giving class, you better be prepared. Otherwise, if you don't prepare, stay and don't say anything. So he told me, I learned by Hacham Matlub and the older generation, but, I like the way you speak about halal, about all this, that tradition, the good stuff, the minhagim. But Billy is always pay attention to the Torah that was said, and all the right things. He likes only the stuff that makes sense to him. And a lot of time he would ask question, and smart question, and he knows the answer. He knew the answer from whether Hacham Yom Tov or Hacham Leyom, whatever. He said, I know the answer, just I'm testing you. About 7 years ago when I got my smicha, he said, now I can call you Rabbi Bassoul. But you know, why you went to Israel to get smicha? What? You have here Hacham Yom Tov, and you already learned by them. Why you think if you go to Israel, you better smicha? I know that you know your stuff even before you go to Israel. I said, Billy, okay, this is the system that goes here. He said, I respect you anyway. Last time I saw Billy in the wedding. I shared many occasions, many semahot in the family, and the last time I saw him by Billy, Gary's son, in the wedding. And the minute I walk, he looks at the time. Maybe I showed up a little late. The order of my wedding for me, so I couldn't find parking. So he's looking at the time. Hacham, Fenak, where are you? We're starting the ketubah. We're waiting for you. But the minute that he saw me, he was so happy that I came and I shared with him the semahot. Him and his wife Janice, Hashem yitin lach arichut yamim, raised up a good family. All the boys, I have a special relationship with every one of them. Lenny, I used to bother him a lot in the office. Every second, this, how are you going to make UPS labels? How are you going to change the program? How are you going to do this? So me and Lenny, we go all the way. Charles, when we first built first minyan, he's the first one to come and give a class often. Remember Charles? Every once in a while, Charles, why you have to wake me up 7 o'clock? Can you do it later, 9 o'clock? I said, you know what? Come pray later, but give us the class. And Gary, very friendly. I can't wait for his smile every week to see him. Every party, I'm the first one to be there. And Danny, I see him in school, training basketball with the boys. So, Mrs. Mizrahi, Billy is going to be missed. Not only by your family. Going to be missed by us in the shul, in the kahal. Everyone that I talked to in Sha'arei Sion, they say, we didn't know. Wow, Billy. I mean, so powerful person that he inspired everyone that we're gonna miss his appearance. We're gonna miss him. Tisha B'Av, he won't pray anywhere else. Every Tisha B'Av, he has to come here. I said, Billy, I have to see you on the Tisha B'Av, only Tisha B'Av? You see me in Simchat Torah and other places. No, this is the only way, the only place that they know to do the right things, like the Halab way. I know Billy now is in Shamayim. And we read this week parasha, Shelach lecha anashim. Send people to spy the land. We send Billy, HaKadosh Baruch Hu took Billy at the time that his family needs tefillot. Our congregation, we need tefillot. We need support. We know he has a legacy. He has a foundation that built to follow. He has a system. Billy cannot be in any shul, although that he changed many shuls. He makes sure that there is system in shuls. And Billy, he did it. I remember in Kippur, when I first started here, I saw Billy with a schedule. Nishmat has to start 9:10. Finish, oh, you're late, 10:02. No. Na'ila has to be certain time. So he's accurate. He loves the perfect. He's perfect. He likes the emet and the perfect things. That is Billy. So I think by him, without him in shul, we feel the loss. But I learn a lot from him. I used to sit next to him, right next to him, exactly. Everything that we do, this is what we do. Wow, Billy, is that right? Yes. Kaddish was right? Yes. So that is Billy. I built special friendship between me and him, special relation that really, every time I see him in the street, we'll talk, I walk with him, I'll talk with him. So it's when I wanted to visit him, when he was sick, when I heard that he was sick in the hospital, I wanted to visit him. I asked Gary, please, can I go see him in the hospital? He said, no. So I said, no, really, I want to see him before, but I couldn't see him. So when I heard the news, I said, wow, I missed that. I want to see him last minute. I want to talk with him. I want to see what he said about about what's happening. So he is now in Gan Eden with all the things that he did. קבעתים לתורה. He did what he has to do. קיבל כל אדם בסבב פנים יפות. You didn't see him angry. He always happy, smiling, talking nice to people. And that's the whole idea of a person. הווה מקבל כל אדם. Even if I used to see him greeting the Spanioli at work, always with a smile, hi, good morning. Walk in the street, the minute he walks to park his car, everyone says, hi Billy, good morning. So he's that of a person that מקבל כל אדם בסבב פנים יפות. And I see that on his children. Every time they walk into the shul, you see the smile on the face. And that's what makes person alive. And that's what's give chayut to a person. So he's now, I'm sure he's in Gan Eden, he's neshama in Gan Eden, praying for you, Mrs. Mizrahi. May Hashem give you koach, strength, long life, beriut, all the children, Charles, Gary, Lenny, and Danny. May you should see only good things. We should share many semachot. תהיה נשמתו צהורה בשור החיים, אמן ואמן סלע.
For those of you who don't know me, my name is Richie, and I'm Billy's grandson. My sister Janice, who currently lives in Israel, with her husband Yosef and 2 children, Judith and Meir, prepared some words, and I would like to read them on her behalf. It's been a week, and it's still hard to process that you're not here. Since we were young, you were in the hospital a lot, but you were so strong, you always came home. The first time I remember you being in the hospital, I must have been 7 or 8. You were in for a stent, and my mommy and daddy told me you were in the hospital because you needed to eat healthier. I made you a card with pictures of fruits and veggies on it. I remember walking to your hospital room and seeing it hung up on the corkboard. It made me feel so special. It wasn't so much the big things you did that made me feel special. It was the little simple things. It was sitting in your front room every Shabbat after shul and talking with you about my week. You would ask how things were going, and you would just listen. It was so obvious that you genuinely cared. Anytime I would visit you and Grandma, I was always greeted with a great big hug and Arucha, how are you? I can't believe I won't be getting those great big hugs again. Daddy would tell me that when he was growing up, you showed tough love on many occasions, but never with me. Even when I was learning to drive and you took me to practice before my road test, I saw I was making you nervous, but you just calmly kept telling me to slow down. I would always make your plate for you on Shabbat. However, when Aunt Molly ate over, you would insist I make her plate first. She was your big sister, no matter how old you both were at the time. The respect and love you had for each other was something beyond measure. Everyone at the funeral spoke about your love for Torah and Tefillah. When I got married and we had the Sebet and my in-laws were simply in awe of you. My mother and father-in-law, as well as Yosef's aunts and uncles, came up to me separately saying how they couldn't believe you knew all the Tefillot by heart and sang them so beautifully. I remember just smiling and saying, that's my grandpa. I never really understood how unique it was, since that was just who you were. As I write this, I keep having to correct my grammar and change the present to the past, since I still can't really digest this. I can't really think about the fact that next time I come to Brooklyn, you won't be there. I'm so lucky that my children got to meet you and spend time with you. You got Jude a Hello Kitty bag on Simchat Torah, and she uses it every day and says, Grandpa Billy got me this backpack. I don't know what I'll tell her when she asks where you are the next time we go to your house. I can't believe that you won't just stop by on your way home from shul to see Jude and Meir. Then rush out since you didn't tell Grandma you were coming, and of course, she would get mad you came without her. Selfishly, I'm happy that I missed the last couple of months, and my memories of you will be when you were healthy, strong, and happy. I love you so much, and I'll miss you always. The next speaker will be my cousin Isaac.
Everyone knew my Grandpa Billy. They didn't just know of him, though. They had a deep, loving relationship with my grandpa. Hundreds of people poured into my grandparents' house this past week, and almost each and every one of them noted how close they were to my grandpa. No matter their age or where they're from, their relationship with grandpa was one of the closest relationships they had. When I was in school and I would go to the center to work out after school, many times I would see grandpa parking his car on Ocean Parkway and Avenue S, going to the center for a swim or to the health club. He would say, "Come on, Rahi, walk in with me." He knew every person that we encountered as we walked in. He would stop and talk to them about their family, about school, about basketball, about anything. He would stop to talk to 5 to 10 people before we even got to the security guard. When he got to the security guard, the guard would greet him with a, "Hey, Billy," and then they would start talking. It would be 10 to 15 minutes before we even got to the elevators. And it wasn't just the center. He did this at every restaurant, every synagogue, anywhere he went. Every single synagogue that he walked into, and there were many, he knew everybody, and everybody knew him. The rabbis, the hazanim, the congregants, the people who put out the food, the people who folded the taletot, the janitors, and everybody else who worked there. Whether or not they knew English, they knew how to say, "Hi, Billy," and always with a smile on their face. As he walked in every morning and every evening, he not only greeted, but had a full conversation with everyone he encountered. With a smile on both their faces, with love, comfort, and respect. Grandpa loved to help. There were many times he would ask me to take a look at the front door to see why it wasn't closing. Maybe tying or loosen the screw. Less than a minute after I got to the door, I would look right behind me, and there was Grandpa with a screwdriver and pliers ready to help. The past few years, I would go and build his sukkah for him. I tried to sneak into the back so that I wouldn't have to make him get up and get to the door. But as soon as he heard me taking the sukkah out of storage, he would be outside ready to help in any way he can. Untangling the lights, getting an extension cord, getting scissors, and holding up the panels so that they wouldn't fall down. He couldn't stay idle when somebody needed help. When we would go to my grandparents for a meal on Shabbat afternoon, there was one specific moment that occurred each and every time that is etched into my memory. As soon as Grandpa said these 2 words, you knew where you were. You can hear the love in his heart, the love for God, the love for his traditions, and the love for his family and his community. As soon as he started Kiddush with Mizmor David, right when he said those 2 words, you felt it in your heart. You could feel the love and comfort in his voice. It was amazing what just those 2 words coming from Grandpa's lips made you feel. Everything else from that day was built on the feeling of those 2 words. Shabbat was very special to Grandpa. Shabbat was the day he got to see his children and grandchildren, to see all his friends and neighbors in the synagogue, and when they passed by his house on the way home. If it was nice out, he would be sitting out on the porch, waving and smiling to everybody that walked by. Some would come up onto the porch, give him a kiss and a hug. They would speak to him for 10, 20, 30 minutes and would love every minute of it. They would be late for lunch, but that didn't matter. What mattered was the love and respect they received when they spoke to Grandpa. Over the past few years, Grandpa had health problems that would affect him physically, but his friends and neighbors were always there to help him. Whether it was walking to and from the synagogue or sitting with him and keeping him company, he loved you and appreciated everything you did for him. He always spoke about you with great love. Grandma, who was always by his side for 50 plus years, through health and sickness, good times and bad. As we were leaving the hospital one night, Grandpa pointed to Grandma and said she was a Eshet Chayil, a woman of valor. It didn't matter whether or not you had a fight. He always loved and appreciated everything you did for him. Maybe he wouldn't show it outwardly, but it was always inside him. But sometimes he would let it slip out, like that night at the hospital. Thank you.
I would like to say a few words about my grandfather, Grandpa Billy. Grandpa was a role model to me in every aspect of his life. Grandpa was one of the founders of B'nai Yitzchak, and he made sure to make his presence known. Let's start getting these from now. I always remember walking into shul with him, and there are always a countless number of people coming to greet him. As many of you know, the Chazan has a seat in the middle of the shul, right there. But when Grandpa Billy walked in, thank you, he's always given that seat out of respect. Going to shul with Grandpa was always one of my favorite experiences, because I was always proud to be sitting next to him. Sorry. From a young age, Grandpa taught me our minhagim and the importance of going to shul. I just remember sitting next to him in West Yale Shul, teaching me the makam and pizmonim. And from then on, I tried to follow his footsteps. After shul and every Shabbat, I always stopped by to visit Grandma and Grandpa. Over the last few years, you would always find someone from shul walking him home. No one viewed walking Grandpa home as a hassle. Instead, they viewed it as an honor. Over the last few months, it became harder for him to go to shul, but that didn't stop the visitors. He would always find people stopping by after shul to come see how Grandpa Billy's doing. Over the last 2 months, while Grandpa was in the hospital, when walking to shul, I got stopped by at least 10 people who I didn't even know, asking how Grandpa's doing. As my Uncle Charles mentioned at the funeral, everyone called him their friend. Just seeing the amount of people in Mincha on Monday put tears in my eyes. Young and old, Grandpa had a special relationship with everyone. Everyone knew Billy, and when I say everyone, I really mean everyone. When introducing myself to someone, the first thing I would say is, I'm Billy's grandson. And immediately their eyes lit up, and they would say, of course I know Billy. As many of the rabbis have mentioned over the last few days, Grandpa was very tough on the outside, but very soft on the inside. You will not find someone who loved their grandkids and great-grandkids more than he did. We always heard stories on how tough he was on his kids, but with his grandkids, he was the complete opposite. Over the last few days, we were watching home videos from years back, and you will always find one of his grandkids either cuddling up with him on the couch or him carrying us and kissing us to no end. He always found the time to make each of us feel special in our own way, for example, by giving us nicknames. Unfortunately, I cannot say my nickname since we're in a shul. But those of you that know it understand what I'm talking about. Even being in the hospital didn't stop him. In his last days when he didn't talk much, he still kept looking at me and asking for my son. Bringing my son to Grandpa's house after he passed away wasn't easy either. We would sometimes see baby Gary going to the front where the couch used to be and looking at me, asking, where's Grandpa? To which we didn't know what to answer. Everyone that knew Grandpa knew he was a family man. We had the privilege of going to Israel for our bar mitzvahs, and Grandpa made his presence known. Every morning, he would take advantage of the included Israeli breakfast by having his 4-course meal while we waited on the bus to leave. As everyone knows, Grandpa Billy can have a conversation with anyone, As we walked through the Arab quarters, we were all given the warning not to talk to anyone and keep walking, but not Grandpa Billy. You would see him strike up a conversation with the Arabs like they were his best friends. He fit in perfectly. Grandpa also organized a family tradition to go to Kutcher's Country Club every year. Whether we went for a week in the summer or for Thanksgiving, this was the time that Grandpa always looked forward to bond with his grandkids. You would either find him playing basketball or holding one of his grandkids in the pool. He made sure to spend every moment enjoying our company. For the last 2 months, I went to the hospital almost every day to visit Grandpa. Even in his hospital bed, he still found a way to make the people around him feel special. When walking in and seeing me or any of his grandkids, you just saw his eyes light up and he greeted all of us with a smile. Every Friday, someone from Bikur Cholim would come bring mazaf for Shabbat. He would always ask every doctor and nurse to share a kibbeh with him, in which no one can deny. It was amazing to see every doctor and nurse in the hospital either know him or hear about him. When a doctor and nurse met him, they always greeted him with the line, "So this is Billy Mizrahi everyone's talking about." He really made a presence everywhere he went. Visiting him in the hospital, his face lit up every time I showed up, and I got asked, "Vic, where's my ice cream?" When I missed one day, I would always get a phone call from my father or grandmother saying that Grandpa's asking when I'm coming today. I considered it an honor to visit Grandpa in the hospital because we all knew how happy he gets when he saw his grandkids. Unfortunately, the last couple of months have not been easy for Grandpa, but they really did sum up the impact he had on all our lives, not just his family. First, seeing the amount of people he impacted is unfathomable. Second, even being in his hospital bed, he was still himself. As many of the rabbis mentioned, he always found time to pray mincha and Arbi every day, no matter what. A few weeks ago in his hospital bed, it was 3:50 p.m. He knew mincha was at 4, but he didn't have a watch. There was no way he would have any idea what time it was. He turned to me and said, "Vic, let's go. We have mincha in 10 minutes. We all just paused and looked at each other in shock. His life really revolved around serving God and his community until his last day. Grandpa, we'll miss your presence and your personality. We love you."
I'm going to be double dipping this time, my own speech though. Internally, I always knew my grandpa was a great man. One of the first times I heard it, the same echoed by a stranger, was in elementary school. I took part in an after-school basketball program coached by the great Ditto Towel, who's with us today. Ditto likes to know the lineage of the kids he was coaching, their parents, their grandparents, so when it came to my turn to say who my father was and my grandfather was, I said my grandpa was Billy, and his face immediately lit up. He said, "Kid, you're a lucky one. Your grandpa is my hero." I thought, went along with the basketball program, kind of forgot about that, but at the end, that stuck out to me, like, he's somebody's hero, right? And I went over to him and asked, why did you have that reaction? He began to tell me a story when he was 12 years old and he was crying in the corner of the JCH. Grandpa Billy, 16 years old at the time, he saw Ditto crying and went over to see what was up. Ditto told him that an Ashkenaz kid called him names, and to keep it PG, he called him an Arab, mocking his Syrian descent that Grandpa held so dear to his heart. So Grandpa went over to the guy and said, "Hey, did you call him an Arab?" "Yeah, I did. What are you going to do about it?" "You better go over there and apologize." "No, what are you going to do about it?" Bam! One right hook to the chin, and that was that. From that day on, nobody called Ditto an Arab again. My grandpa stood up for what was right, no matter the cost. It's something I've always admired and hope to emulate. In today's world, it's hard to swim against the tide. But when you know something's right, you have to stand up for it. That's the way Grandpa lived his life. Throughout the Shiva period, I met so many people that were impacted by relationships with my grandfather. He was able to connect with anyone on a genuine and deep level and truly make everybody feel important. During the summers for the last few years, my brothers and I would stay in Brooklyn during the weekdays. And generally Wednesday nights, we'd look forward to going to Grandma and Grandpa's house for barbecue dinner. It was truly the highlight of my week. One night we were sitting by the table getting ready to eat waiting for Grandma to finish up with the barbecue outside. And we heard a faint voice coming from Grandpa's pocket. Hello? Hello? Billy? We realized Grandpa butt dialed some lady in his contact. He grabbed his phone out of his pocket, took the next 5 minutes to have a full conversation with this lady about how she was doing, and got a complete update on her life. When he hung up, we all looked at him perplexed and asked, Grandpa, who was on the phone? Thinking it was a close friend of his or something. He shrugged his shoulders and said, I haven't spoken to that woman in I don't know how many years. And he started to laugh. We all followed his lead and laughed with him. And Grandma finally came in with a tray of meat, and we enjoyed a wonderful meal. It didn't strike me until later that night, but that mishap was an amazing learning moment for me. Grandpa could very easily have responded with, sorry, I dialed you by accident, and hung up the phone. But instead he took the time to further build a relationship and make the person on the other end of the phone feel special. He was able to make a genuine connection so easily. Imagine we all had that ability in our day-to-day lives. Depression would likely cease to exist in the world. I think the most amazing thing about Grandpa was his ability to mesh together his fiery, strong-willed, and stern personality with the softness and cuddliness of a teddy bear. It was always hysterically funny to me to hear the stories of Grandpa's old-school parenting techniques from my father and uncles. Because to his grandchildren, he was the most patient, soft-hearted, and caring human being we've ever seen. This perfect blend of personality is something we can all learn from. Too much of one trait just doesn't work. What I learned from Grandpa is that you need to be both fiery and patient, be both strong-willed and soft-hearted, and both stern and compromising in the right situations. His charisma was infectious, yet his humility was like that of Moshe Rabbeinu. Albert Einstein once said, our death is not an end if we can live on in our children and the younger generation, for they are us. Our bodies are only wilted leaves on the tree. From passing down the Sephardic Mesorah to connecting to everyone he crossed paths with, Grandpa's passing will not be his end. He will live on through his children, his grandchildren, and through all the people he has touched throughout his life. Thank you. Sophia coming up.
Usually, when you hear the name Billy Mizrahi, you think of an old school, tough, religious man. But when I hear that name, I think of the biggest softy I know. Grandpa was a pretty intimidating guy. I'm not going to object to that. But the minute he laid eyes on me or any of his grandchildren, he lit up and his features instantly softened. As one of his youngest grandchildren, I was spoiled by Grandpa. He would attack me with kissing beatings, cuddles, and a whole lot of love. I remember when I was younger, I would lay on his stomach for hours in his favorite chair while he hummed Pizmonim and he played with my hair. In my eyes, Grandpa Billy was a warrior. He was the strongest person I knew. Even at his weakest points, he never let on that he was in too much pain. Visiting him in the hospital shattered me to pieces, but I put on my happy face and greeted him with my typical comment, "Hey, handsome, you're looking good." No matter how low his voice got or how hard it was for him to say, he still always answered, "Hi, beautiful, you're my favorite, don't tell the others," even though I knew he said that to all of his grandchildren. Grandpa made me believe I can do anything. He said I was capable of being an actress, a model, a doctor, or all three combined. No ambition was too hard to grasp in his eyes. He was always my little boost of confidence, and I'm so grateful for it. Grandpa, being young has put me at a disadvantage. I wish I had more time with you. I wish I could see you sneaking more Hershey bars at the center, even though Grandma didn't let you have them, or hear you say the beracha and the Chanukah candles. I wish I was able to compliment you one more time hear you yell at me for disrespecting my parents, or hear you call me Rochi. I wish you were able to march in my wedding or meet your future great-grandchildren. But because you can't, it is my mission to remember all the good we've been through together and picture you as the lively man you once were, up to a couple of months ago. I will use all you've taught me over the years and appreciate the importance of family and Judaism the way you did during your life. I am heartbroken and empty knowing you are gone, but I know that your legacy will live on forever. No one will ever forget the way they felt when Billy Mizrahi walked into a room. You will always be my superstar, my hero, and my role model. I am so thankful to be your granddaughter. I love you so much. I will always miss you, Grandpa.